Here we are in New Orleans, and it is not lost on me that this year we are marking the 20th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. We know that this is a community that is resilient. We know that this is a community that knows how to resist, and we know that this is a community that knows how to respond for each other. And so that is the spirit in which we come together today. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. I hope your Essence is already off to a good start. Yes? And I know that we are in the right place. Essence is always right on time, and it feels like a timely gathering that we're having now to be in conversation as Black women, as a Black family, as Black America in this moment for our democracy. So we are gathered in a moment of deep urgency, but it is also a moment of deep clarity, right? The political, the social, the economic, and legislative attacks that we are witnessing under the current administration are not new. But their scale, their speed, and their severity have made one thing unmistakably clear, and that is that Black women are both the first to be targeted and the first to respond. So today we're going to have a conversation that centers that truth, and more importantly, that centers women like these that are doing that work. I'm really honored to be leading this conversation with this brilliant group of leaders who are on the front lines of this fight. They make me sound smarter every single day, y'all, as a journalist, in my role as editor-at-large at the 19th. From courtrooms to communities to congregations to classrooms, these are the women that are advancing reproductive justice, that are protecting voting rights, that are fighting for educational equity, and that are refusing to let democracy collapse without a challenge. So we're here to explore not just how Black women are surviving this moment, but how we're mobilizing, how we're resisting, how we are building something better through policy, through organizing, through advocacy, and of course through storytelling. This is not a conversation today about fear. This is a conversation about freedom and the women who are defending it. So with that, I want to get started. I want to welcome Janai Nelson, President and Director-Counsel of the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, Ashley Shelton, President of the Power Coalition for Equity and Justice, Kimberlé Crenshaw, co-founder and executive director of the African American Policy Forum, and we're going to be joined in a little while by Reverend Shavon Arline Bailey, who is president and chief executive officer of the National Council of Negro Women. Thank you so much to all of you for being here today, and thank y'all. Okay, so I think we have to start by just kind of talking about the state of our democracy and our role in it, right? So Janai, just thinking about this week, what we saw the last 2 weeks, what we saw in the Supreme Court, we know that it has become a key battleground for civil rights. How are you thinking about the current court reshaping democracy and how Black women lawyers are responding to that erosion in real time? I'm watching you do that.
Thank you, Errin. So first, let me just take a point of privilege and say hello and welcome everybody to LDF's panel at Essence Fest. We are so thrilled to see all of you. Thanks for coming out and sharing your afternoon. And I want to introduce, I don't know if Demetria McCain, our Director of Policy, even gave her name when she gave you that awesome welcome. So I got to introduce Demetria. That's LDF's Director of Policy. We are not only fighting in the courts, but we are fighting in the halls of Congress. We are fighting in state legislatures, and that is the woman who's leading that fight for LDF. And I am just so honored to see so many people, some of our other leaders. I saw Mark Morial from the National Urban League come in, native Louisianan, just like my brother over here, Damon Hewitt, who heads the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. And when you talked about the 20-year anniversary of Hurricane Katrina, it just brought me all the way back, Damon. I know you know this. He not only is from here, but did tremendous work when he was working at LDF and our response to Hurricane Katrina. So thank you for that. It's just a constant reminder. So that was a big question. You're right. We are just coming off of the end of a Supreme Court term. Yeah. Another devastating Supreme Court term. They seem to get more and more devastating every year, which is a hard bar to continue to clear for this court. But I feel that this court, for quite some time now, has been captured. It has been captured. We already know that there is a 6-3 conservative majority on the court. There are very few cases in which they sort of realign. It's quite predictable. But what really is evidence of their capture is how much they will shift principles and theories of logic and interpretation to suit an outcome. It is no longer about rational reasoning and applying fact to law. It's applying any type of theory that will get you to the outcome that you want. And what was most alarming to me this term, and this term, remember, we saw the defunding of Planned Parenthood. We saw a violation of the 14th Amendment when it comes to the rights of transgender children and families, right, that we can unpack. We saw so many devastating blows, but one that really, really disturbed me was a case where the Trump administration, Trump versus CASA, was rewarded for just disregarding federal court orders. The court just kind of breezed over the fact that this administration was not complying when a lower court said, you cannot deport these people under these conditions. You cannot deport human beings without due process in the United States of America, where we are purported to be a constitutional democracy. And the Trump administration just went roughshod like they are wont to do, and the court did nothing to rein that in. So when an institution castrates itself, you have to wonder what's going on. I mean, you have to wonder who's pulling the strings and why is this happening? And so I'm not a conspiracy theorist, I'm a realist. I see what I see. And I read what you write. and I see what you're telling me. And it is clear that our Supreme Court is compromised. It is compromised. We had a case before the Supreme Court this year, and of course, many in the room know about it. It is a case that is based out of Louisiana. It is a redistricting case that follows on an incredible win that LDF had in the Supreme Court in Alabama a couple of years ago, Allen versus Milligan. And right now we have the case Calais, Louisiana versus Calais, which was before the court this past term, and they didn't decide it. They asked us to re-argue it, which is a very rare order. They asked us to re-argue it in an upcoming term. So I hope we have a chance to talk about that. But again, justice delayed is justice denied. And I think there's just, again, more evidence of this court not living up to its own words. But we are not going to stop trying to hold it to account. That's what we do. We bring them such strong facts and such persuasive arguments on law that we make it so difficult to turn away. That's how we got that last win, and that's how we're going to get this next one for Louisiana.
Yeah. So important to think about Black women continuing to be the truth tellers, the fact speakers in these moments where the facts are definitely under attack and up for debate in some circles, but Black women saying no in every corner of this democracy, including the courtroom. Ashley, I want to come to you because you are at this intersection of civic engagement and racial justice. We're heading into another critical election. I know it's wild to already be talking about the midterms, but I mean, yes, elections clearly have consequences, and so we have to talk about elections, right? Yes. I want to ask you what you are thinking about in terms of what's at stake for Black women voters. We saw the spending bill that just passed. Demetria talked about it. How are you seeing Black women voters push back against voter suppression, against political exclusion, and against policy that is literally going to be impacting their daily reality?
No, thank you for having me. I think, you know, one of the things that is interesting about Louisiana is that no matter what happens in the rest of the country, we're going to always have 2 elections. We've already had 3 this year alone in the state of Louisiana, which is crazy. And so there's never any time or downtime for us here. But what I do want to talk about is the March election. So we had a spring election. It's usually low turnout. You know, our governor put these 4 amendments on the ballot. And he thought nobody was going to show up. And these were heinous. These were, you know, again, like this evil behavior that we're seeing, like this, you know, this sense that like people aren't human beings, that we're just going to continue to pass policy that diminishes and takes away the rights and the lives of people. And so one was to put children in jail as young as 14 with adults. So to put children in jail with adults as young as 14. One was to completely rewrite the tax code so that all manner of things. And in the poorest state in the country, I mean, we fight Mississippi, and at this point, Mississippi, I think we might be beating y'all. I don't know. But in the poorest state in the country, you know, we were going to change the tax code so that there's no money flowing in the state, that at the federal level, we are seeing that we already have all these cuts coming down with Medicaid. 90% of our healthcare budget in the state of Louisiana is Medicaid dollars. It basically comes from the federal government. I shouldn't say it's all Medicaid, but it comes from the federal government. And so in a state like that, 52% of the state's budget comes from the federal government. And so, you know, I always say, like, you know, we're not California where it's like 30%, some little cute number. Like, really, the functioning of this state happens on the back of the federal government. And part of it has been because political strategy has said, if you're going to cede every terrible policy in the Deep South, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, sometimes Arkansas, then... you know, and then take that, you know, and then they take it wholesale to the rest of the country in a year. And I always talk about right to work and how they literally passed it here. They laughed at us, talked about our alligators in the backyard. And then a year later, it was in Michigan. And I mean, and it took Michigan, 10 plus years to be able to repeal it and get it off the books. But the thing that they do, though, in order to do that, to be able to take this and cede these terrible policies, is they give us all these federal subsidies, right? Like to try to make us whole so that they can say, look at tax reform in Louisiana. And then, you know, basically our whole government is paid for by the federal government. You know, our state is functioning off of federal dollars. And so I say all of that to say that, you know, we have nothing to lose. Like, we are at a point in the state of Louisiana where we have nothing to lose. And so when I think about the midterms and I think about what's ahead of us, I think that a lot of people feel, you know, defeated. I mean, I felt gut punched yesterday. I had to take a little moment to cry, let those tears fall. And then you pull yourself back together and say, there's a plan. Because here's what the voters in Louisiana did in March. On these 4 amendments, terrible amendments, that would have taken away so much power enshrined in our Constitution, black women showed up. And black women killed this, yes. There was such a drumbeat, right, around this idea, like, y'all are trying to lock our kids up, you know, like at 14 years old, and you know, it reminded people like what a felony actually is, and how small the infraction could be or perceived for our children was one of the big drivers, and they thought that would be the thing that would win them all of the amendments. And so 10,000 more black voters showed up in March than they did for the governor's race, which is a whole other conversation. Sure. I was like, we could have did that, we could have missed this. But nonetheless, it is proof that on the heels of the presidential election, that the voters of Louisiana were like, okay, this is enough, right? Like, I feel like it was a bellwether moment because right after that was Wisconsin, you know, and then so all these dominoes started to fall around, people literally finally arriving at they're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And so I always, you know, talk to Fannie Lou, and I was like, Fannie Lou, one day they're gonna get sick and tired, one day. I was like, Fanny, I'm with you. I've been tired, okay? And so I do think that, like, we're seeing these bellwether moments where people are pushing back, people are standing up. And I think the midterms, I think there is going to be a bill to pay. And I think that you know, like, I wonder, I have lots of questions, because I don't understand how they think they can win the midterms after the impacts of this are definitely going to play out at some point before. So rural hospitals closing, no access to health care, you know, all of these things. And so even in the face of the winning we've been able to do, you know, like addressing the maternal, you know, health crisis here in Louisiana and passing laws to make sure that insurance and cover doulas and midwives, yes, and all of these different things, what difference does it make if you're not going to even get to childbirth because you don't even have a hospital that's going to see you before you have a baby, if you even can have a baby, right? And so we talk about reproductive health and how they want to define it one way. Reproductive health for black and brown women is the right to have a baby, the right to have a healthy baby, have access to health care. Like, you know, it's all of these other things that people don't want to talk about. But I think that there's something burning in the belly of black women that it's time to take over. And I do also want to acknowledge black women are tired, y'all, because that's the other thing. I think I was cried a little bit because I was like, now I got to do more work, and I was like, I got to do more things. And I think the answer is yes. But also, I'm not going to be doing it by myself, right? Like, I've got these amazing women with me, and I've got this room full of people with me. I've got this state with me. And, you know, and I always tell the story, you know, everything we've done in the 10 years that we've existed has been something people thought couldn't be done. They said, literally, you're dumb. That's never going to happen. And every year we've made history as an organization in the 10 years that we have existed and changed this state for the better.
Yeah.
And we'll keep doing that.
And that's important, Ashley. It's important to continue to tell that narrative, to talk about the wins, right? Everybody is looking, and for a lot of people that may feel discouraged and hearing all these stories about doom and gloom, hearing stories about the Black women who are doing the work and who are succeeding, like that also very much matters. And shout out to everybody up on this panel and everybody out here who does not look like what they have been through or what we are going through in this moment in our country. Like, that matters. You talk to Fannie Lou Hamer. Who you talking to? Constance Baker Motley, probably. Ida B. Wells is literally on my chest every moment that I have. Dr. Crenshaw, I want to know who you've been talking to in the meantime. I mean, seriously, you are also somebody that I talk to a lot about all the things. You have long taught us that intersectionality is a tool for visibility and justice. I just want to ask you how you're seeing this current democratic crisis erasing and misrepresenting Black women, and what tools Black women are using to reclaim that narrative and legal space. And also welcome Dr. Arline Bailey. Okay, coming in hot, just blew right in here looking fabulous. We're going to get to you in just a second. Exactly.
Hey, y'all.
But yes, Dr. Crenshaw, the tools that Black women are using to reclaim our narrative and legal space.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that question. And I always have to thank my sister-in-law, Janai Nelson. We have had many conversations late into the night, starting 5 years ago, about what was going to happen when what is happening now actually happens. So, and I really wish that there was some satisfaction in being right, but when what we were predicting was a disaster, and the disaster has actually happened, and we still see the same conditions in place that allowed the disaster to happen, namely the marginalization of Black women,
Yes.
namely the failure to recognize our leadership, namely the failure to say, look, 92% of them got this right. Let's figure out what they understood that other people didn't understand. I mean, like, how many times, a 92% is an A grade in anything, right? If you're in a class and you were among the 92%, you got it right, you expect the teacher to say, kudos to you. The rest of y'all, go study with them. That did not happen.
That's definitely not what happened.
After the election. If anything, they said, okay, y'all 92%, y'all in detention now. We're not going to talk to you. We're not going to try to understand why you were able to sort out that this wasn't just about pocketbook issues. We're not going to acknowledge what we all saw, which was misogyny on steroids, misogynoir on steroids. Just think about all of the things that they said about Kamala Harris, all of the ways that she was represented, all of the language that was used against her, language that was not used against Hillary Clinton, and I'm gonna say it, language that was not used against Barack Obama. This was intersectionality on steroids. We saw it. And the only thing that I thought might be the silver lining was that after the election, everybody would see how the entire democracy was being killed by misogynoir. That we wouldn't have to have this fight anymore with our party. We wouldn't have to have this fight anymore inside our organizations. We wouldn't have to have this fight in media. Everybody would see that we lost because we were not able to address the particular way that this Black woman was being misrepresented and attacked. The next day, it was like it didn't happen. It was like all of you who saw racism and sexism on steroid, you believe in your lying eyes, right? Rather than what actually happened. This is not the first time our democracy has been put in a straitjacket because of the failure to believe and credit a Black woman. So all of these cases that Janai was talking about, plus the gutting of the Voting Rights Act, the gutting of affirmative action, all the 5-4 decisions that came before this supermajority, they were made possible by one vote of the person who looks like us. And why is that person on the Supreme Court? Because we were unwilling to believe a Black woman who told us who he was. And when I say we, I don't mean the entire society, I mean us, right? Black folk. I'm going to tell you that when we were supporting Anita Hill, when we were going to the senators' offices, those senators who were made possible by Jesse Jackson's campaign, which created the black power that put certain senators in office, senators from here, from Georgia, from Mississippi, Alabama, to a person, they told us, how can we vote against this person when your people are calling us up saying we better confirm him? So this is a moment that has continued to pay dividends on the side of those who would rather break this country than share it with us. On the side of the lost cause in this moment, on the side of the people who recognize that the only way MAGA wins is to erase our story, erase our voices, our history, and at the end of the day, to erase our power. So that's why they're going for the federal government and trying to completely dismantle it, because they know they're not going to be able to hold power indefinitely. But they also know that when they give us the keys to a broke down car, they give us the keys to a dilapidated infrastructure that doesn't work anymore. The plumbing has been stripped. The electricity doesn't come on anymore. Ain't got no windows or doors. They're like, here, you can take it over again, because it won't work once we get there. And they understand that, right? So when I think about black women, black women's leadership, I think, number one, yes, it does hit us first in so many different ways. 65% of black births are made possible by Medicare. We rely on Medicare. So what's that mean? That means that the levels of maternal mortality are going to go up. The levels of infant mortality are going to go up. And that's not an accident. We have to grapple with the fact that this isn't, conservative politics as usual. This is white nationalist politics on steroids, and we're the target of everything they want to do, because they know if they can make it work with us, they can make it work for everybody, right? If they can take us out and everybody else is okay with it, they can take out everybody else. So I'll end with this. Black women are the source of intersectional wisdom, right? Things I write about are things that black women tell me, including my mama, my grandmama, right? It's just putting, mother wit into language on a page. So there's nothing new about it. What is new is how they're using intersectionality. That's what's new. And the most important intersection that I want us all to recognize right now is we're dealing with the intersection of white nationalism and kleptocracy of the billionaires. These two things are coming together. I don't know what Elon Musk really thinks about black people. I don't know what any of those tech giants think. But I know that as long as they can weaponize anti-blackness to steal the country, to line their pockets, they're going to be good with it. And I know that the white nationalists realize that as long as they can keep pushing us down to feel better about themselves, they're going to line up with the kleptocracy. This is the intersection that is killing us right now. And this is the one that I think black women are particularly prepared to see and speak to, because they understood that it was on the ballot in November in a way that, and black people in general understood it in the way that nobody else did. So our goal right now is to share our wisdom and our knowledge with this democracy, because we're not going to be able to save this democracy without saving anti-racism.
Wow. Right. Did I tell y'all that these people help me sound smarter every day? I mean it. Yes. Thank you for the reminder. Big Mama been intersectional. Thank you for that. Yes. And yes, there's a difference between knowing how to do intersectionality, which is a lot of what we're seeing right now, and to actually be intersectional. Absolutely. All right. Well, Reverend Arline Bailey, I want to bring you into the conversation.
Yes, ma'am.
Because the National Council for Negro Women has always served as a moral compass and organizing hub for black women. We know that. So in this moment of where a lot of people are feeling kind of a moral crisis and seeing the backsliding in our democracy, what does faith-rooted civic leadership look like? How are black women showing up as protectors of democracy, particularly in that space?
First of all, that was a deep question. When I read it, I said, ooh. It's amazing to be here with some sisters that I just love and are grateful for. Let me just offer this. The one thing about Black women that has not changed is our spiritual connections. You see, what is so interesting to me is that there's been countless evidence about the decline of Black people in faith. But who's the most consistent? Are Black women. Now, how they activate their faith is one thing. It may or may not be in a church, but there is always a spiritual connection. And the term you use in backslide is such a churchy term. But folks that grew up in church know backslide is when you mess up and you got to go back and get forgiveness. Come on, y'all know you went up there, right? Well, that's what we did.
Altar call.
Right? She said, I don't know nothing about no backsliding.
You weren't at the altar? Okay, I've been to the altar.
So y'all been to the altar
It's
before.
okay.
And here's my context for this. Black women have always put the country on the altar. We've never not put the country on the altar. And here's the challenge with that. When we put the country on the altar, we've always trusted in God, but we've seen how people are going to show. I did a talk recently about this and that I've been pushing back on this connection on allyship. Because I don't believe in allyship that has benefits for just the ally.
I told you we were going to tell the truth today, y'all. Okay.
And that's been so difficult for me. That's why I've been calling out this movement of faith. So I really have been really trying to help people understand that God and Jesus, for me specifically, Jesus is synonymous for justice. You can't tell me that Jesus wasn't for justice when he activated his entire ministry about everybody that they othered then. So the entire movement of Jesus' ministry was connected to how do we give equity and inclusion? That's a Jesus thing. And Black women have activated that. We are the folk that are going to take in everybody no matter who they are. Ash, white families, Black, it don't matter. If you need food, we're going to feed you. If you need money, and we don't have money, we're still going to find it for you. That is colloquial and familial in Black womanhood. And this 92% thing is really why we are who we are. That's why we're so loyal to our men. That's why we're so loyal to our partners. That's why we're so loyal to our communities. Because Black womanhood says, I'm a lock in. I can't help myself. I can't help but to lock in because we were born to lock in. The Home of the 92% is our new campaign at NCNW. We just started a campaign called We Are the Home of the 92%. Now, that doesn't mean that you are just a Democrat. Because 92% was not just Democratic women. Black women. And I've learned to get at this around this faith piece because Black women are also connected to moral conscience. But the religiosity of things have taught us that it has to be your morals or that's it. And that's the danger of white nationalism and faith. That my Jesus is mine. I told white folk all the time, your Jesus ain't mine. Because the one I serve said, what you do to the least of these, you do unto me. And so as a culture, as Black women, I'm leading an organization founded by Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune. And I think about it every time I walk into the only Black and woman-owned building on Pennsylvania Avenue, that we are in a God now moment. God move now. And that activates through Black women. You know why we're working out well? Because Black women talk. Damon's here, he works with us all the time. I say, Damon, you better get your brothers. Because I tell them all the time. Because my husband said, look, I want my brothers with me. That's not the point. The point is when we align, everything's gonna work out. When we are on the same page, everything's gonna move. And so does the Black woman's spirituality move, so do the people move. And so do the people get free. But we're locked out because we don't understand our liberation. Our liberation is connected to how we heart, how we head, but how we heal. We haven't healed right, y'all. We haven't acted. That's why we have so many issues with institutionalism. Whose side you on? What color you wear? Look, I'm Black. I'm Black and woman. It's my gift. And it's the gift that I give to the world. And so religious engagement in democracy is centered around how people have looked at religion. And it has been bastardized. The word evangelicalism has been bastardized. Evangelicalism is not what that is out there. If you grew up in church, you actually grew up evangelical with the context. But what they have done is use the term, taken it away, and made it a political fraud for a movement of white nationalism. That was not evangelicalism. but we have allowed it to happen. And I'm a trained black liberation theologist. My only conscience is Jesus saw movement in practice. That's why the slave movement was so astounding to me. Nat Turner was my guy. You know why? Not because I believed in him killing people, but I believed in him understanding the context of the Bible. What they're doing is wrong. I got to remove what's wrong from the earth. Now, how he did it might not have been the way. That's not it. I'm not supposed to kill people.
Shavon is.
Hello? But it's the context of
No, listen.
what he understood. So you're asking about religiosity. That's what's happened.
Yeah, Janai, I'm coming back to you because you were starting to talk about how we're seeing legal strategies expand, defending affirmative action, resisting anti-DEI laws. We're seeing that roll out on the other side, and we're seeing the response to that that Black women are leading. I want to ask you about maybe some new or underutilized legal strategies that you're thinking about to protect civil rights for this generation.
So thank you. I also want to pull on a couple of threads that my sisters have raised here, because when we look at the assault on truth, which is really what brought us together 5 years ago to just talk about how do we not try to hide under some protection that I'm not that, right? That, you know, I'm not critical race theory. I'm not DEIA. I'm not an affirmative action baby. You know, we constantly try to distance ourselves without appreciating the power in our truths. That there should be no shame in our history of struggle, of progress, and ultimate vanquishment of this system of oppression. So those parents who don't want to tell their children those stories because they think they're too hurtful have no idea how damaging it is, because your child is going to make sense of the world some way or another. Your child is going to see the inequality and have to put some, you know, story to it. And without the historical context, they got to make it make sense. Without the historical context, what are they going to think other than maybe I'm not enough, maybe those people didn't work hard enough, maybe things are the way they are because that's what those people deserve, as opposed to understanding how we got here. So the importance of truth is so critical. We have a pro-truth initiative at the Legal Defense Fund that we have been nurturing that has beat back some of these atrocious book bans in states like South Carolina. We have done work across the South because there's such rich history here that we have got to protect. And these book bans are just an effort to starve our intellect, to indoctrinate us through ignorance, and not just us, everybody. They want everyone not to understand the power of our history. And to bring it back to the legal theories, what's so critical for us is that we have got to preserve truth and fact, because that's our currency. You know, that's what we traffic in. We have to be able to tell the truth in court papers and have a judge who understands it. We have to be able to elicit the truth like we've done with some of our clients here in the room today, get their testimony, get them to talk about what it means to live in a community, what it means to be a community of interest, what's the history of discrimination in this locality. Those are truths that matter in the court of law, right? That's the factual background. So it is so important that we use these truths to not only animate traditional civil rights claims, but in this war, and I say war intentionally, this war that we're in, we must marshal every possible tool. So at LDF, we're looking not just at traditional civil rights laws. They are extremely important. They've gotten us very far, and we're going to continue to mine them, even though they're under attack, and they're shrinking because of this court. But we've got to look outside the civil rights apparatus. We have got to pull every possible theory off the shelf and deploy it, because that's what's happening, right? That's what we see happening to us. And at LDF, I've told our staff, we're going to look at it in 3 ways. We're going to defend the rights that we have worked for 85 full years to gain, along with so many other partners. We are also going to disrupt this administration in every way possible. If that's the Administrative Procedures Act, we're going to do it. If that's going to require us to think about other tactics that are within the bounds of the law, but maybe outside the traditional civil rights course, we're going to take that course. And then we also have to find some time to dream of what's on the other side of this. So we talked about response and resilience and resistance, and I want to add 2 more R words to that. And that is a radical reimagining. A radical reimagining of this country. And I wrote an opinion piece in The Hill that's out today that talks about this, that asks us to have a radical reimagining of American identity, to call on everyone to believe in the way Black women have believed in the capaciousness of this country. The women who have been raped and beaten and subjugated and told we were ugly and told that we were nothing, and yet we still always held on to our self-worth, and we're able to bring other women along with us. We're able to bring other marginalized groups along with us. These women can come together and reimagine what this country is. I'll add a couple more R words. We need a revolution and a refounding. I'm not interested in a reconstruction. I'm interested in a refounding of this country by Black women for Black people that will inure to the benefit of everyone. And that is what this moment calls for. And I know that it may sound, okay, we just passed this bill that's literally trying to kill us. I call this bill a death certificate that the president is signing on this day. But we have the wherewithal and have had to think about what is beyond even the most opaque and entrenched barriers in this country. So when I think about Constance Baker Motley, who worked at the Legal Defense Fund, the first Black woman to become a federal judge, a trailblazer beyond measure, and her charge that we must fight to do the impossible. That's what we're here for. I don't know why we got all these degrees. I don't know why we climbed all these ladders. I don't know why we stockpiled all this power if we're not ready to use it right now. I mean, this is the time. This is the time. I don't know if not now when. I don't know what we're waiting on. But we are under attack, we're under assault, and we have an opportunity to refound and reimagine and to bring about a values revolution like never before. And that's what our ancestors have called on us to do in this moment. So we will be using the power of law to do that, but everybody here has some kind of power. And I ask you to use it, tap into it, grow it, and assert it right now when we need it most.
Yes. Listen. I mean, I'm also here for the food, but that was definitely the 4th of July message that I came for. Reimagining for the refounding of the revolution, knowing that Black women have always been among the framers of this country as we think about, as we are literally now headed towards the countdown to this country's 250th anniversary, we know that Black women are going to be the framers of what America looks like going forward. So thank you for saying all of that. And to your point about us meeting this moment with the full force of our power, I want to ask a lightning round group question here. Name one thing that Black women need more of or deserve more of to meet this moment with the full force of their power. What is the one thing that each one of you would say? I'll let whoever wants to start take us into this one.
There's so many things, but I think the one thing that I think about is, we expect Black women to do the impossible, and we do, but then we don't respect Black women and trust Black women the way we should, right? So like if I'm supposed to do everything and I'm supposed to save everybody, but then I have to do it without respect. And I think this most recent presidential election proved that. I said, because what everybody wants to gloss over was that, it was so clear to me that we hate Black women. and more, you know, and also all women, but I mean, black women in particular. I mean, it was palpable. You could feel it in the room. And so what, for me, it's like, if you want me to keep putting it all 100% on the table all the time, black women are willing to do it. We're going to do the work. But we need the respect that's required to be able to do that without having to feel like we have to drag all of everybody's stuff with us while we're trying to save everybody from themselves.
Yeah, that's a good one. Who's next?
Equitable resources.
Respect, resources. We're going with the R words today, y'all.
Equitable resources. Not resources. Because we have resources. But it's not the same resources that others are given to do work that we're being asked to do. And when I say equitable, I mean the millions and billions that people get to just show up in a room and be a consultant on the side to do things for, when we have an entire institution that's leading hundreds of thousands of people that can reach millions of people with one click. And my resources, what I've done with the resources I've had, we've saved democracy with just this little bit of resources.
Resources that have gotten results.
And have not just results, impact. Impact. And this is why I'm telling you something, y'all. This is a sore point for me, because what I've realized is, and I'm a Gen Xer, so I was born in the late 70s. We have a younger generation of women that have seen us get beat down because the baby boomers that trained us took whatever they could, made it everything, and then gave it to us and said, all right, go be. I was the first, but I couldn't finish it, so you go make it big. We made it big, and now young people are like, hold on. You had to do a lot to make that big. And and I'm telling you, the lessons are not clear. That's why I love young people. They get me right. They're like, wait a minute, why are you doing all that for that little bit of money? We got it wrong. So now I've learned to walk into a room and say, how much did they get? It's not the same, and I don't have more, and my one click is gonna get 2 million women? Get out of here.
Equitable resources, which again speaks to respecting us, right? Because that's how we get to equitable resources. Who else?
Well, I'm a co-sign both of these.
Sure.
In fact, I was about to just say Aretha told us what we need. And the form of it would come in equitable resources, right? That's what respect really means,
Yes.
right? It means recognizing that we should not normalize the need to be magical. I mean, I'm a step on this, right? Because
We have another hour. Sorry, no, we don't. But yes.
I'm all in to loving us, but I don't want to normalize the idea that we have to be magical in order to survive. We've got to put our lives on the line to do what people do who are consultants, right? So that to me is what respect means. But here's the wrinkle. A lot of the lack of respect that we're talking about is co-signed by people who look like us. Right? So, of course, we got the respect issue from the outside, but can we finally talk about gender inside of our communities, our leadership structure, our tables? Because other people know that we're not getting the respect we deserve. They know it. So what they gonna do about it, right? When are they gonna step to the table and say, look, my sister we are co-leading right now, and they're not being treated as co-leaders. So the time to actually talk about what needs to be done so that we can resist in our full power, because we lose when we're not at the table and being resourced in the way that we need to. We lose. Who's gonna go into a war with half the battalion not equipped to actually do the work? You know you're not going to win like that, right? So when I think respect, I'm thinking from the outside, I'm thinking from the inside as well.
That's right. Yeah. And we still got 70 million votes.
I'm sorry.
So yes, you all have said pretty much all of it. The only thing I would add is we need more freedom. And when I say freedom, I mean, not in this lofty, but like, get out of our way. Get out of our way. Give us the freedom to do what we were born to do, what we have been training to do, what we are absolutely poised and ready to do. And we will go so far and take so many people with us. Give us the freedom to lead unencumbered, to lead without the misogyny, to lead without all of the negative assumptions. Give us the freedom to rebuild this place. And I've been using this quote a lot recently. It's one from Diane Nash, and she defines freedom as realizing that you are your own leaders. And in this moment where, it's hard to talk about elected officials and leaders. We don't have leadership in this country, except some of what you saw from the CBC yesterday. Clap it up for them. Clap it up for Leader Jeffries and many others who stood up and who have been putting their bodies and their voices on the line. The Representative McIver, who's from New Jersey and went to check on her constituents and to make sure that there weren't violations at these ICE detention centers, right? So we do have some leadership, but the folks who actually hold the power as a majority are not leaders. We need to recognize we are our own leaders, and we need the freedom to be able to execute that leadership and our vision. Like, we've always had it. We've always known what this country could be, and we've always had a vision that was well beyond the dysfunction and dystopia before us. So that's what I want more of. I want more freedom. I want more freedom when we go to foundations and donors and they want to restrict what we do. Give us the freedom. Believe in us. Trust us enough to know. I'm going to invoke one other person who's not in the room right now, and it's a young leader, Melanie Williams-Jagger, who said something at an event that I was at, and she said, "Fund us like you want us to win." Like, don't be stingy. Like, fund us like you actually are betting on our outcomes, right? That you actually believe in what we're fighting for and you want it to win. So fund us in that way. And so I'm not just talking to the funders. I'm talking about anybody, not the money part, but believe in us, show up, join forces, lock arms, stand shoulder to shoulder with us like you actually believe in what we're fighting for and you want us to win. Right? Bring all of that to the table. That's the freedom we need to take off and to soar and to do the impossible and to do what I believe is inevitable, which is to bring freedom to this entire country.
Yes, indeed. I think that we've gotten a window today into what a liberated democracy can look like when Black women are not just the participants, but the architects of our democracy. So I want to say thank you to all of our incredible panelists for your wisdom, for your fire, for your leadership. What we heard today is a roadmap for protection, for resistance, and for possibility, because we know that Black women are not waiting for permission. We are mobilizing voters, we are defending classrooms, we are caring for communities, and we are challenging power structures at every level. We are all the storytellers of this democracy. I'm proud to be in that work with all of you, but also its protectors. And as our rights are being rolled back and our bodies and our ballots are coming under attack, this moment demands that we lead not just in response to harm, but towards transformation. So as we leave this conversation today, I just want us to carry with us a reminder: our power is not theoretical. It is proven, it is practiced, and it is ours. So I want to thank everybody here, and I want to thank all of you for being a part of this essential dialogue, and thank you so much for just all the work that you're doing in your communities and your respective organizations and your lives. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.